Good evening. Today is Friday, March 5th. We had an amazingly deceptive day today. S&P 500 rallied 80 points overnight as payroll report came way above expectations, almost double. Expectations were at 198, but it came in at 379. But then on the open, it sold off sharply, dropping 80 points, only to rally back up even more, 120 points. It was an incredible run, an incredible day, and we closed up 72 points, up almost 2% for the day. So, Victor, your warning not to short the 20-day low came in today very handy.
It's about time I was right.
It's about time, right? And Bitcoin is still trading under 50,000. It has recovered a bit since the low of 46.5, and now it's at 49. And one of the stocks I keep talking about, MicroStrategy, has the largest holding of Bitcoin in the corporate world, just announced today that they're buying even more Bitcoin. Michael Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin in hopes to pump his own stock, which is understandable as MSTR is down 53% since the highs. And no wonder if the only innovation he has is buying Bitcoin. Maybe he should talk more about what his company is actually doing instead of what it actually investing in, which new innovation, instead of just investing in Bitcoin, which anybody could do. And I guess the same goes for Tesla. It's down 35% since buying Bitcoin. Oil made new highs again and up almost 4% after yesterday's 5% rally. And bonds made new lows, even though they recovered and closed pretty much unchanged for the day. And my favorite fun news for the day was, because of course I love science, World Health Organization director said that COVID pandemic has caused more mass trauma than World War II. I'd like to see his scientific statistical analysis for this, and I in particular take offense because in my country, in Belarus, during the World War II, a quarter of the population has literally died. A quarter of the population was dead during World War II. So the fact that he compares COVID to that, it really is embarrassing for him. Belarus was pretty much open during the COVID and very, very few deaths. And like I said yesterday, 88% of COVID deaths occurred in countries where half of the population is overweight. So obesity is the real problem, not COVID. But Victor, back to the markets. What do you see now?
I see the code of Bushido. Everything depended upon the ability of the Japanese to be strong, to maintain their dignity, and to save face. Do you have a chart of the Nikkei? Anyway, for the last 2 days, the Nikkei has flirted down to the 28,700 level. It was, you recall, at 30,200. That's a drop of 5% from the high. And nothing hurts the Japanese sense of dignity, their code of behavior, their resilience, more than the loss of faith. They watched the Nikkei go to the 28,700 level several times. And then magically, out of the clear blue sky, for example, today at 11:30 Eastern time, yesterday at 10 p.m. Eastern time, again, the Nikkei was 28,400. They didn't want to see it go below 29,000, and sure enough, it closed at 29,200. When I was in Tokyo, it's well known that half of the Japanese operatives like a little alcohol, and they often work off their alcohol by vacationing in a love hotel. These are very well-run hotels, all computerized. Everything is to the minute. When I was there, I walked through the area populated by love hotels, and I saw a lot of the Japanese operatives. I wrote about them in my book, Education of a Speculator. I started the story out by describing how the special Japanese market workers, in that case, it was the specialists in the yen. They like to dine and go to geisha houses with their colleagues who were on the front line trading foreign exchange. And they shared news with all the central banks around the country. And apparently, they must have known that today's employment would be show tremendous increased job growth and a decline in the unemployment rate. Apparently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is well known for being the most political of all agents, even more so than the CDC, if that's possible. And I like to picture them. I dream about them having their meetings at camp kindergarten, which, by the way, I should play the Russian national anthem because that's the start of. Do you know the Russian national anthem, by the way?
The Soviet Union or the Russian? I know the Soviet Union one, but not as much the Russian.
Okay, I think you get the picture.
Yep.
Getting back to the markets, of course, everything is intimately related. I picture the U.S. operatives who are the counterparts of the Japanese operatives in the Love Hotel, but I picture them at the camp kindergarten where they start every meeting with, start every day with the Russian national anthem. And the head of the former head of the Bureau sent kids there, and a certain very high Treasury official who I like to compare to Little Buttercup is a very intimate friend of the former head of the Bureau. And you might ask me where this is going, but presumably, above all, they wanted the stimulus bill to be voted on and to be passed. And if they if they had 600 or 700,000 new jobs, 350 was very good, especially considering that the restaurants were mainly closed and locked down. So they must have taken a few 100,000 off the number. They had enough to show that the economy was strong, but not enough to draw endless criticism from all the pork in the stimulus bill. So they came up with just the right numbers, and I found it very interesting. See, I'm letting it all go today because at the beginning of the day, there was a letter from the former president to the Wall Street Journal in which he blamed the loss in Georgia to the rhinos, to McConnell, Pence, and the Republicans who capitulated on the voting recounts. He still claims he won the election. He won it. He's going to win it 3 times, he says. And there's no way that the Republicans can win if he comes back, because there are too many people who have a revulsion to his personality, to the mulligan, the self-dealing. So with him stating that the reason the Republicans lost was because they didn't support him enough, rather than what any thinking person says, because he made the election in Georgia relating to voter fraud, and the fact that he won the election instead of it being a key to the prevention of our descent into agrarianism. So that was extremely woke. So I was very bullish at the opening, and it had a normal opening, up 1.5%, and then the deception occurred, and it was magical. What happened today? Anyone who was the least weak, who got hurt the previous day when it went down 4% from the high, saw it happening again. So they had to have margin calls, and the options broker of choice must have liquidated many accounts. It got down to 38.20, and then at 11:30, as I came back from my tea ceremony and walked through the Love hotels, the operatives from Japan came in, and they raised the Nikkei, which was at that time at 28,600. They raised it up to 29,200, as their chart shows. And there's a certain beauty in the tiger lashing its tail and forcing every week long out. Gold was below 1,700. I'll read something from one of my, not my favorite ecology book. My favorite ecology book is the Princeton Guide to Ecology, which I recommend that everybody get. Over half the animals on Earth sustain themselves by feeding on other organisms. And that's certainly true of the market. The entire infrastructure, the entire banks, the entire big boys sustain themselves by feeding on the weak. Some kill other organisms, then eat them, while others graze on living organisms by eating their tissues or internal fluids. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The higher trophic levels ate the tissues, the internal fluids of the weak. You had to be strong as Hercules to sustain yourself with the market at 20-day lows and NASDAQ and the S&P and it down another 2% and looking and having 3-week closes in a row, having Victor spouting that we were going to have a big rally Friday, which he broke his silence and had a special bulletin Sunday night that we were going to have a rally by the end of the week. Of course, we had it on Monday. I'll count that as a correct prediction. On Tuesday, I was predicting down. I'll count that as a prediction. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, I was wrong. We had about 2%, 1% or 2% on each of those days. But sure enough, for those who had strong, for those who refused to succumb, for those who didn't have a margin call, liquidate them, they were able to come back on Friday and where are we? We're 2% from an all-time high in 12 days from an all-time high. Unfortunately, with all the woke news coming out, I don't see it continuing. There has to be a revulsion. I saw in my dreams a picture of a bicyclist with on an empty road wearing a mask, gasping for breath. I saw the thousands of National Guards at the Capitol to shame all the Republicans. They had a prediction from Madam Pelosi's bodyguard that there was danger of a horrible riot. Talk about continuing the lockdowns because there's possibility of a new virus, continuing the school closings. This isn't good, but mainly I come back to the broken windows. You can't fix the economy by breaking windows and then repairing it with glass. Again, you can't fix the economy by digging holes in the desert and then filling it up with sand. All these people who are out of work and are staying out of work cannot be producing anything. The economy cannot survive by producing nothing. We can't have one stimulus bill after another. Eventually, about half of the people who are receiving the handouts, aside from all the favored woke groups, all of these people are making more money than they were beforehand. There was a soporific given. They're only going to give $300 extra in unemployment benefits. There's too much unproductive things, too much expansion of progressivism, too much lack of dining out, lack of family, lack of seeing other people. I lack of seeing people, too much living in fear. Anyway, after 20, getting back to the reality, I'm saying letting it all hang out. And fortunately, everybody knows that our mantra is that the more woke it is, the better it is for the market. So please don't close us down. For those few people that look at our thing, I lose subscribers every day when Twitter mistakenly thinks that when I say that I feel very safe, that there are thousands of National Guards sleeping on in their sleeping bags and eating fast food, and they don't like when I say I feel very safe that the National Guard is guarding us. Feels a sense that the world is. Here I have something that I think it's outrageous what's happening. Let's misbehave. It's outrageous. Yeah, better get a better one than that. 1928, dear. World's in slumber. Let's misbehave. Governor Cuomo is in the news, and it's very woke. Let's misbehave. Let's misbehave. Anyway, it's getting outrageous. Eventually, the individual is going to have no freedom to pursue his happiness, to have family gatherings, to have control of his own life, to have his own businesses. Anyway, after a 20-day minimum and a good up day like we had today, nothing overly bullish for the next day or two. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little pause. I'm not predicting anything. I'm slightly cautious. I noticed that hospitalizations are down 50, 60%. When the moving averages are down 30, 40%, it means that the last day is down 50, 60%. If Mr. Schiller would only realize that, he wouldn't say such ridiculous things about the P ratio being based upon a 10-year average of earnings, because the last correlation between the last earnings and the earnings 10 years ago are ridiculously small. Anyway, Koda Fushida, let's thank the Japanese. Let's hope that they don't spend too much time in the love hotels over the week. Actually, they're not known. Those Japanese who aren't thousands of miles from their family and can't afford the ticket back home have hobbies there. They don't go to love hotels, and the operatives generally spend the weekends. They don't have to work on Saturdays anymore. They spend the weekends with their family. So let's hope that they come revved up for work. They keep the market above 29,000.
Victor, so everybody wants to know if you
Yeah.
think this sell-off is the beginning, possibly the beginning of a significant correction, or is this
No, it's
just
never
minor?
been. Anyway, we got to keep the S&P above 3,900. It's in the 3850. Yeah, it was a great day for Sogis. I mean, this whole week, whenever it was below a Sogi, it was a great time to buy it. It took a lot of courage when market got to 3820. It was beautiful the way it flirted with the low of the year. Anyone who was weak was forced to go out. All their tissues were devoured, but those who didn't have to worry about capital, with all the 10 million new investors who have low capital, it's a field day for the higher trophic levels, a field day for the institutions, for the market makers. They love it. Think how many of them were forced out at the bottom because they were undercapitalized, and it was 3720. It broke through the Sogi level of 3750 like a tidal wave. And then strangely at 11:30, I like to say, certain people got out of their hotels and got back on the job. They magically forced the Nikkei up from the 28,700 level. Whenever they raised it by 100 and 150 points, apparently everybody in the know there, Mrs. Nagarwaki, knew that they were starting again. They were back on the job, and that it was only a question of time until they raised it another 150 points to above 29,000. So that was the key. So let's hope that they don't get tired, that they don't succumb to their predilection for too much alcohol. Like yourself, I have infinite respect. By the way, did I see something about their delaying the Olympics today? I didn't. There was so much woke going on that I wanted to reveal that I didn't follow that. But my brother-in-law, who's been in Japan for 25 years and is in charge of bringing all sorts of street musicians to Japan in Osaka. He predicts that they won't be able to hold the Olympics, but that would lose too much face the same way the 29,000 would have lost too much face. And they'll hold it, but possibly without too many spectators. In any case, Let's hope that they're well rested. They're with their families. The fathers will see their kids for the first time in weeks. The wives will give them some of their salary money to have some dinner. They'll go to the beach. And that's what I recommend that everybody find a secluded place, take off their masks, and enjoy themselves. Celebrate the market's tremendous rally and the fact that they weren't liquidated. One of the worst mumbo jumbos is that the market always comes back to an old low. It's never been tested, but everybody believes that when there was a flash crash, and whenever there is, everybody says, well, it's gone up 6% from the flash crash low, but as we know, it will come back. So the 27,200 level, which was the market at the beginning of the year, will be in play by the charlatans and by the technicians. And so it will be a battle. It will be outrageous. Don't misbehave and liquidate your longs. Market always has a 10% a year drift in it, especially when it's woke like it is today. Thank you very much, Mrs. Selena.
Thank you, Victor. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. I'll try.
Do not misbehave.